Sir, put your hands on the hood. Now. I'm not armed. I'm walking home from work. You match the description. What description? Blackmail. Hoodie. Breathing. They slammed him onto a police cruiser, ignoring his ID, his badge, his voice. 5 minutes later, someone shouted, "Gun." He never had one. But by then, a crowd had gathered. Phones were out. And none of it would matter. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. Dante Rhodes had just left his internship at the public defender's office when he heard the first shout. Hey, stop right there. It was nearly 6 p.m. The Atlanta streets were still hot, steam rising from concrete after a long June day. Dante wore a navy blue suit, slightly wrinkled, with a messenger bag slung across his chest. He turned around slowly, confused. That's when he saw the patrol car swerving to the curb. 2 officers jumped out. Guns weren't drawn. Not yet. But their posture said everything. Hands up, sir. On the car. Now. Excuse me? He raised both hands instinctively. I'm on my way home. I work 3 blocks up. Public defender's office. The taller cop circled behind him. You match the description of a robbery suspect. Black male. About 6 feet. Gray hoodie. Dante blinked. I'm wearing a suit. No hoodie. And I've been on the 14th floor since 9 a.m. You can call my supervisor. The shorter cop stepped in. You're being uncooperative. Put your hands on the hood. Dante hesitated. Sir, I'm a licensed legal clerk with the state bar. I have ID in my inside pocket. Can I reach ya? They grabbed him. Face down on hot metal. Stop resisting. I'm not resisting. Someone across the street started recording. Another bystander shouted, he's got a briefcase, not a weapon. Didn't matter. They emptied his pockets. His phone hit the pavement. His ID fell face up. Dante Rhodes, legal intern, Fulton County. The officers didn't stop. One called it in. Suspect detained. Possible firearm. Dante jerked his head. Firearm. I don't have a weapon. You're lying. The shorter cop reached into his bag. Pulled out a legal code book. No gun. Just law. Still cuffs. Still pressure on his back. Then backup arrived. Another cruiser. Another officer. More questions. Where were you at 5:10 p.m.? In a deposition on the Richardson case. Who can verify that? Literally anyone on the 14th floor of the courthouse. No one made a call. They sat him on the curb like trash. Suit dirted. Knee scraped. Wrist burning. A female officer finally checked his ID again. She read it aloud. Legal intern? The first cop shrugged. Could be fake. It's not fake. I just passed my ethics exam last month. Call ADA Morrison. She'll vouch for me. But the radio crackled again. Suspect fled eastbound. Wearing red. Carrying a duffel bag. Red. Not blue. Duffel bag. Not briefcase. The first officer frowned. Looks like it's not him. Dante exhaled. But the cuffs didn't come off. So what now? The taller cop looked annoyed. You fit the description. We had to be sure. I gave you everything. You didn't even check. Calm down, sir. Don't escalate this. Dante sat still, eyes burning. Because in that moment, he realized something. They hadn't stopped him because he fit a description. They'd stopped him because he existed. The cuffs didn't come off. Even after the dispatch corrected the suspect description, red jacket, duffel bag, 5 feet 9 inches, facial tattoo, Dante was still seated on the curb, wrist bound behind his back like a criminal. He'd stopped trying to argue. His throat was dry, and every word only made them dig in deeper. The officer who cuffed him, the tall one, paced with his thumbs hooked on his vest. You said you were a legal intern? I am. At the Fulton County Public Defender's office. The officer smirked. Then you know we can hold you on suspicion. Dante raised his eyebrows. Suspicion of what? Loitering. Obstruction. Failure to comply. None of those apply. You stopped me without cause. I offered ID. I never resisted. We'll let the supervisor decide. The backup officer stepped in. Just let him go. It's a bad match. Not our call, the first replied. Another 20 minutes passed. Dante sat on the hot concrete, his back against the cruiser, while people walked by, whispering, recording, shaking their heads. No one helped. No one dared. A younger officer finally approached and knelt down. Hey man, you got someone you want us to call? Dante didn't answer at first. Then, ADA Morrison. She's on the 6th floor at the courthouse. She knows me. The officer nodded, stepped away. 10 minutes later, he returned. I reached her. She was furious. She's on her way. The lead cop looked irritated now. We're following procedure. You're embarrassing this department, the younger one muttered. Another 5 minutes passed before a black SUV pulled up fast at the curb. A woman in a navy pantsuit stepped out, heels clicking. What the hell is this? Dante looked up. Ms. Morrison. The lead officer turned. Ma'am, we had a suspect matching. Matching nothing. That's Dante Rhodes. He's cleared for courtrooms, depositions, internal access. And he's supposed to be with me in less than an hour. She held up a badge, Assistant District Attorney. Uncuff him. Right now. The officer hesitated. He got combative. No, he got humiliated. She turned to Dante. Are you hurt? He shook his head. Not physically. She glared at the officers. You just made a very big mistake. And believe me, this will not disappear. They removed the cuffs, finally. Dante stood slowly, arms sore, suit wrinkled, pride in it. But as he reached down to grab his bag, the tall officer spoke one more time. Just so you know, this attitude, that's why people get hurt. Morrison turned, eyes like knives. No, officer. It's why people sue. She led Dante to the car. He didn't speak for the first minute of the ride. Then, quietly. They knew I wasn't the one. Morrison's voice was tight. That never mattered. What mattered was that they could. Dante sat in the waiting room of the DA's office, holding a cup of water with both hands. The scratches on his wrists had stopped bleeding, but the sting was still there. It wasn't about pain. It was about what it meant. They hadn't even hesitated. Morrison stepped in from the hallway, still on the phone. I don't care what the precinct says. He had ID. He had clearance. If he'd been anyone else, he'd have been home an hour ago. She hung up, turned to Dante. You okay? He nodded. You don't have to do this, she said. I mean, we can file an internal complaint. But you know how it goes. Dante looked up. What do you mean? I mean, you're early in your career. You've worked too hard to risk becoming the problem guy. He blinked. I was cuffed on a sidewalk for matching a description. I know. I was accused of having a weapon. They called it in as possible firearm. There wasn't one. They knew it. They still said it. Morrison sighed. And what do you want to do? Dante didn't answer right away. Then he reached into his bag, pulled out a legal pad. Handwritten notes. Case citations. I'm filing a formal complaint. Civil rights violation. Wrongful detainment. Misconduct under color of law. Morrison froze. You're going on record? I am the record. She sat down beside him. This won't be easy. They'll say you were disrespectful, aggressive, maybe even that you fit the profile too closely. Dante didn't flinch. I fit one profile. That's being black in a suit. Silence. Then Morrison spoke, slower this time. Internal affairs won't back you. The department will protect itself. They always do. Then I won't go through internal affairs. She looked at him. What are you thinking? Dante stared at his notes. I'm thinking I take it public. Not through social media. Through law. I know my rights. I know their procedures. I've read their playbook. I've written parts of it. Morrison shook her head. They'll destroy your credibility. You'll never get hired by the city again. He stood. Then I'll build something they can't ignore. That evening, Dante walked into a neighborhood legal clinic. His shirt still wrinkled. His hands still shaking. I need help filing a 1983 claim, he told the intake coordinator. The woman nodded slowly. Civil action for deprivation of rights? Yeah, and I want to name every officer on the scene. By badge number. She hesitated. You sure? Dante looked her in the eye. They were sure when they put their hands on me. Now it was his turn. The legal clinic sent the first draft of the complaint within 48 hours. Precise, aggressive, and by the book. Dante read every line twice. Then signed. He emailed a copy to the city's legal department, copying the Office of Police Accountability. It didn't take long. By noon the next day, he was summoned to the conference room at the public defender's office. Not by Morrison this time, by Chief Public Defender Walter Briggs himself. Dante entered, tie knotted tight, face unreadable. Briggs stood at the head of the table, arms folded. Sit down, Dante. He did. Briggs didn't open a folder. Didn't reference a document. He just spoke. I've reviewed the complaint you filed. Impressive work. Very thorough. Legally sound. Pause. That's not the problem. Dante didn't blink. Then what is? Briggs leaned forward. You're too new to this city's courts to understand how delicate things are. You think filing a complaint is justice. But what you're actually doing is picking a fight with your future. Dante said nothing. Briggs kept going. Judges talk. Prosecutors talk. You want to move up in this field? You want to argue felony cases someday? You don't start by accusing cops of racism on official record. Dante leaned forward now. What should I have done? Thank them? You should have documented. Quietly. Internally. Built trust. Picked your battles. I was the battle. Briggs exhaled slowly. You're making this political. It was political the second they threw me on that car. Silence. Briggs sat back. I can't stop you. But I won't protect you either. If they come after your credentials, your clearance, your access, that's on you. Dante stood. So be it. That evening, his building keycard was deactivated. He had to be buzzed in. The front desk clerk gave him a strange look, apologetic, but silent. On the 14th floor, his badge no longer opened internal folders. His intern email account showed access restricted. By morning, his name was removed from the deposition schedule. No explanation. No memo. No one said it was retaliation. But it was. Morrison passed him in the hallway. I told you. He looked at her. And I listened. I just didn't bow. She sighed. What now? I finished what I started. She shook her head. You're going to lose everything. Dante looked down at his hands still marked where the cuffs had cut. Then I'll lose it for the right reason. He walked out. Not from the case. From fear. The letter arrived on a Friday. It wasn't marked as legal correspondence. No seal, no court stamp, just a white envelope slipped under Dante's apartment door. Inside was a folded note, typed but unsigned. Mr. Rhodes, we request an informal conversation regarding your pending civil action. Monday, 10 a.m., City Building Room 5B. Discretion appreciated. No contact name. No phone number. Just directions. He showed the letter to no one. But he went. Room 5B was on the basement level. No cameras in the hallway. No receptionist. Just a closed wooden door and a single chair across from a polished metal table. Dante entered, closed the door behind him. A man in a gray suit stood waiting. No badge. No folder. Just stillness. Mr. Rhodes. Thank you for coming. Dante nodded. Who are you? Let's keep names out of this. Think of me as a representative of institutional interest. You mean the city. I mean the city's balance. Reputation. Internal peace. He gestured to the chair. Dante didn't sit. The man continued. You've made a lot of noise, Mr. Rhodes. Public filings. Accusations. Badge numbers. Media inquiries. I've spoken the truth. Truth is slippery. But damage? That's concrete. Dante's jaw tightened. Are you threatening me? The man raised a hand. Not at all. I'm offering you a path. I'm listening. You withdraw the complaint. In return, your internship is reinstated. Your record remains clean. And when the bar asks about this year, no one says a word. Silence. Then Dante spoke. And if I don't? The man leaned forward. You'll be labeled difficult, biased, emotionally reactive. That sticks. Especially for someone like you. Someone like me? Unproven. Outspoken. Not easily absorbed into systems built to contain. Dante laughed sharp, humorless. I thought you'd at least try to bribe me with something real. You want real? You'll be blacklisted from city offices. No references. No clerking positions. No bar placement. And eventually, no courtroom. The air went still. But Dante's voice stayed calm. I've already lost your version of safety. So what's left is mine. He turned toward the door. The man called after him. Walk away now, and you burn the bridge. Forever. Dante paused. Then, the bridge was already on fire the day your officers threw me on the hood. He left the building into the sunlight. No handcuffs. But still marked. Still ready. The courtroom was nearly empty. Just 3 rows of benches. A sleepy bailiff. 1 clerk. And Dante Rhodes, standing at the plaintiff's table in a charcoal suit that didn't quite fit anymore. Not because he'd grown, but because this moment was heavier than the fabric could hold. The judge looked over the file. This is Rhodes versus City of Atlanta, badge numbers 45812 and 45709. Cause of action, violation of civil rights under 42 U.S. Code Section 1983. He looked up, unimpressed. Mr. Rhodes, you're representing yourself? Dante nodded. For now. Co-counsel pending. The judge sighed. Proceed with opening. Dante stood tall. No notes. Just truth. On June 12th, I was walking home from work. I was stopped by 2 Atlanta PD officers. No warning. No probable cause. I matched no accurate description. I was unarmed, compliant, and carrying identification that was ignored. He paused. I was cuffed, humiliated, and detained for over 45 minutes. My legal status was mocked. My ID was dismissed. My career was targeted. All while the actual suspect, wearing red, not blue, fled in another direction. The judge blinked slowly. Do you have evidence? Dante reached into his case file, pulled out a flash drive. I have video footage from 2 bystanders, audio from a third. Internal dispatch logs showing the suspect description was corrected 12 minutes before my release. He placed the drive on the clerk's desk. I also have witness statements, including one from an assistant district attorney who had to personally come and intervene. Silence. The judge glanced at the defense table. 2 empty chairs. City representatives not present? The clerk cleared her throat. They were notified. No reply. No motion to dismiss filed. The judge frowned. Very well. Mr. Rhodes, you may proceed with discovery. Dante nodded, holding the room with quiet authority. Outside, the courthouse felt forgotten. No press. No protest. Just one man inside a system trying to erase him before the ink dried. Later that afternoon, Dante received an email from a burner address. No signature. No name. Stop before you find out why no one ever wins these cases. He stared at the screen, then clicked reply. Typed only 3 words. See you there. He pressed send, then added another name to the complaint. Badge 38,517. The man from room 5B. Dante came home Tuesday evening to find his apartment door slightly open. Not broken. Not kicked in. Just ajar. He stood in the hallway for 5 full seconds, listening, then pushed it open. The lights were still off. Everything looked in place, couch, bookshelf, desk. But something was wrong. He stepped inside. The drawer where he kept flash drives had been emptied. Gone. The external hard drive under his bed missing. Laptop still on the desk. But when he opened it, the screen was black. Hard reset. Everything wiped. He went to the kitchen, pulled out his second phone, the one he never listed anywhere official. Logged into his cloud storage. The backup drive he'd uploaded last week? Deleted. Not moved. Erased. He checked the timestamp. Deleted remotely 1 hour ago. The same time he was testifying. He sat down slowly, breathing through the silence. They weren't just watching. They were warning. The next day, his email account with the legal clinic was suspended. No access. No reason given. Morrison called him from a private number. They're circling you now, Dante. They already broke in. Silence. You need to walk. That's what they want. Exactly. And they're not subtle about it anymore. He opened a drawer and took out a sealed envelope. I prepared for this. What is that? A copy of everything. Sent to an independent journalist last week. With a release trigger if anything happens to me. Morrison exhaled. You were expecting this? I've read the files. I've seen what they do when someone gets too close. She paused. You know what this means, right? Dante stood. Yeah. It means they're scared. That night, someone knocked on his door. He didn't answer. They didn't wait. Just left a slip of paper under the frame. Withdraw. Last chance. He picked it up, burned it in his sink, then printed 10 more copies of the lawsuit. One for every major legal blog in the city. He wasn't backing down. He was multiplying. The notice came 2 hours before the next hearing. By judicial order, the hearing in Rhodes versus City of Atlanta is hereby postponed pending procedural review. No explanation. No date. Just one word that made Dante's teeth clench. Pending. He stormed into the clerk's office downtown, document in hand. Who issued this? The clerk looked uncomfortable. Judge Whitaker. On what grounds? I don't know, sir. You'd need to file a motion for clarification. I have proof. Witnesses. Video. Affidavits. What needs review? She wouldn't meet his eyes. You'll have to submit the question formally. Dante stood still, breath tight. Then left. But not in silence. He called Morrison from the courthouse steps. They're freezing me out. That fast? No warning. No reasoning. Just a delay. It's procedural assassination. You want me to step in? He hesitated. If you do, you're part of it now. I've been part of it since the cuffs clicked. Pause. Then yes. Use your name. She hung up. By 5 p.m., Morrison had submitted a motion to compel judicial explanation under Transparency Statute 38.9. By 6 p.m., she received a call from the judge's assistant. This wasn't personal, the voice said. Just higher pressure than you realize. From who? Does it matter? It does to me. Click. The next day, Dante filed a formal complaint to the Georgia Judicial Oversight Board. Another copy went to the NAACP Legal Committee, and a third to an investigative podcast. He wasn't just making noise. He was writing it in stone. That night, his neighbor, an old man who usually said nothing, knocked on his door. Saw a city car parked out here last night. 2 guys in suits just sitting. Never came in. You sure? I don't forget faces. Dante nodded. Thanks. The man lingered. You stirring something, son? Just telling the truth. The old man smiled faintly. Been a long time since someone tried that and lived to finish it. Dante closed the door. Sat at his desk. Reread his opening statement. It didn't need edits. It just needed a courtroom. The motion was filed at 8:12 a.m. Petitioner requests transition of all hearings to open court status per public interest exception under Rule 19.4. By 9:40, it was granted. By noon, the courtroom was no longer empty. 3 rows filled. Legal interns, journalists, 2 community advocates. A representative from the ACLU sat in the back, pen ready. Dante stood at the front, same charcoal suit, now clean-pressed. His eyes scanned the room. He didn't smile. He didn't flinch. He just waited. Judge Whitaker entered, slower than usual. He didn't look at Dante, didn't look at the gallery, just opened his folder. Mr. Rhodes, the floor is yours. Dante stepped forward. Thank you, Your Honor. He turned to the gallery. I stand here not just as a plaintiff, but as proof of a process that erases the innocent before they speak. He looked back at the judge. I was detained without cause, handcuffed without evidence, accused without logic. I provided ID. I provided my job title. I offered names, phone numbers, alibis, and I was ignored. He raised a folder. These are the dispatch logs, timestamped, confirming that the description used to detain me was already disqualified 12 minutes before I was released. Another folder. These are internal emails from the public defender's office showing that after my complaint was filed, my keycard was disabled and my files restricted. No explanation given. No charges filed. One more folder. And this is the footage. He turned to the gallery again. The moment they pushed me against that hood, I stopped being a legal mind and started being a target. Not because of action, but because of appearance. He pressed a remote. A projector lit the wall. On screen, a blurry video. Dante, standing calmly. Hands raised. Voice steady. Then the grab. The twist. The cuffs. In silence, the crowd watched. When it ended, Dante turned back to the judge. I'm not asking for punishment. I'm demanding recognition. He placed the folders on the bench. The system isn't broken. It was built this way. My existence in this suit, in this role, in this courtroom, is treated as anomaly, as threat. His voice lowered. But I'm not going anywhere. The judge cleared his throat. The court will recess. We'll reconvene for closing arguments. He stood, left quickly. Dante remained. The gallery clapped, softly at first, then louder. He didn't bow. He didn't need to. The silence that once swallowed him had just made room. The courtroom was full. Every seat, every row. Even the hallway held people leaning in, hoping to hear something, anything that felt like justice. Dante sat at the plaintiff's table, folders arranged, tie fixed, voice steady. Judge Whitaker entered. He didn't make eye contact. This court is reconvened for closing in Rhodes versus City of Atlanta. Mr. Rhodes, you may proceed. Dante stood. Thank you, Your Honor. He stepped forward slowly. I was stopped, searched, cuffed, and humiliated in public. Not because I acted suspiciously. Not because I matched a suspect. But because I looked like someone who could be dangerous. That's it. He looked at the gallery. But what's more dangerous than truth? He held up his closing brief. In these pages are names, badge numbers, dispatch logs, videos, transcripts, deleted emails, and erased footage. All recovered. All submitted. And all ignored until now. He faced the bench again. I do not bring this case for revenge. I bring it to force the system to see itself. Because every time we let one of these moments slip by, we're rewriting the law in invisible ink. Silence. Then, I rest my case. The judge nodded. He didn't look pleased or moved, just tired. The court has reviewed all materials. We find the actions of officers 45812 and 45709 to be in violation of procedural engagement standards. The City of Atlanta is ordered to issue a formal statement of error, pay statutory damages, and cover legal fees. This ruling will be made public record. No apology. No disavowal. Just a cold acknowledgement. The officers weren't in the room. Neither was the man from room 5B. But the verdict stood. Outside, reporters waited. Microphones. Flashbulbs. Dante stepped past them. "Mr. Rhodes, any comment?" He stopped. "You watched the video. You heard the testimony. Pause. Just make sure you report the whole thing, not just the verdict. Start with the sidewalk. Start with the cuffs. Start with the silence." He kept walking. Back at his apartment, he placed the final stamped order in a folder labeled "Resolved." Then opened a new one. Blank tab. Empty inside. He wrote 2 words on the front. Next case. Because the fight wasn't over. It had only just begun. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire action and hope.